Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Youth Circle. My name is Soika, and I am part of the university team here. We are so excited that you guys have joined us for our first ever live. And so, Spiritual Youth Circle is an online community for youth to come together and share from the heart, build genuine connections, develop habits to lead a purposeful life, and most importantly, have fun. So today our topic is focus and how we can use focus to achieve lasting peace. And before we start, I just wanted to say that this is kind of a discussion format, so feel free to unmute, drop your comments in the chat, basically participate whenever you want. All right, so before we start the actual talk about kind of like focus and all that, we kind of have an icebreaker question to ask you guys, and that is, what do you do to feel peaceful and grounded? Okay, so I thought maybe we can popcorn it around. And I'll start. So I guess something I do to feel peaceful and grounded is I really like the sun. And so I will just like go sit outside. I live in California, so it's kind of always sunny and it's really nice. And so I go sit outside and I like put my feet on the hot ground and I just absorb all the sunlight like a lizard or something. But it's so good and it always makes me feel so like grounded and at peace. So I will popcorn it now to Serbi.
Hi everyone, so excited to be with all of you today. What makes me feel peaceful and grounded? Well, I remember on the slide there was a picture of a girl with like lavender around her, and I definitely like something I've definitely discovered is like smelling lavender or different kinds of calming scents like really soothes the nervous system. So that's definitely something for me that helps. Can I popcorn it to Jeremiah? Always loving your backgrounds.
Yeah, I kind of also feel the same way about the sun too. I like just going outside sometimes, especially now, like just always inside, me just being inside all the time. But yeah, ever since like quarantine started, like my sister started like this mini garden, and so I always like check up on that at the same time. Like every time I go out inside, just like look at the tiny plants and like, oh, like these came from like nothing, and like now they're like all grown and like, there's bushes. So it's always really nice to look at that and come back. Popcorn to Anshu.
All right. Yeah, I also like nature a lot and being outside. Something I also find that makes me feel peaceful and grounded is having a meditation practice, because I find how just focusing on one thing for some time and not thinking about everything else makes me feel a lot more peaceful, and then I can be a lot more productive later on afterwards as well. Popcorn to Bharat.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to Anshu, but like instead of meditation, I like to do yoga. I do it with my family a lot, so it's like something we do as a group, and it kind of just like gets away from everything else that's going on in the world, and it's just like you're focused on, just like becoming one with yourself and stuff like that. So it's really nice. I'll popcorn to Nick.
Thanks. So I'm liking everything I'm hearing so far. All these things sound so elevated. Everyone's so like spiritually pure. And then I'm like thinking what I like to do is I just like to eat. Like I'll just eat comfort food. That makes me feel good when I'm feeling kind of spun out. Maybe it's not super grounded, but or even super peaceful, but it's definitely a coping skill I have. And I think it helps, especially if it's nice, like home cooked meals that are real hearty and delicious. That like Jessica, you always talk about lasagna. That's definitely a go-to for me. I will popcorn to Yush.
Hello, I joined like 5 seconds ago.
No problem. We're doing like an icebreaker sort of thing where we're just answering the question, what do we do to feel peaceful and grounded? So yeah.
What do we do to feel peaceful and grounded?
Yeah, it could be just anything, like a ritual practice.
Oh yeah, so I like going for like walks, just to kind of have like my me time, alone time. Especially if like in a bad mood or something, and like I know it, Like I don't want to be around other people and like try to like accidentally say something like I don't really want to say just because I'm in a bad mood or something like that. So I'll go for walks, isolate myself from other people. Maybe listen to music, do something like that. But yeah, definitely going for walks. That's pretty common. That's the biggest thing I do for sure. Oh yeah, let's try to guess here. Who hasn't gone yet? I don't know if I was the last one or not, but I'm gonna go. Barth, have you gone?
Yeah, I already went.
Dang, okay, Anushree.
Yeah, I can go. I like also like others, just being outside and in my backyard or just it's just really refreshing to go outside and it gets me in a different mood if I'm in a bad mood already. I'm not sure who already went, but did everyone go yet?
Advika and Anshika didn't go.
Okay, Anjika can go next.
Okay, so there's one sane thing I like to do when I want to feel like grounded, which would be just like arti, I think. And the other things that I like to do and probably can do more often are weird. Like I like to sleep. Like I'll just take a nap if I'm mad. It's generally because I'm sleeping whenever I get mad for no reason. And I also like to read, which I think that's sane. And another thing that I like to do is I really like architecture, even though I know like literally nothing about it. So I'll just go on like some sort of like I have a program and I'll just make random stuff. Like I don't care how it looks, just make something. Okay, so I'll popcorn to Advika.
So something that makes me feel peaceful is when I take a nap, because by the time I wake up, I usually forget about anything that made me not at ease. So yeah.
Shubetsu, do you want to answer? I know you just joined. The question is, what do you do to feel peaceful and grounded?
I usually talk to my friends. I don't know, like it helps me keep myself in the present and like forget about stuff. And I think a lot of the time, like having someone to talk to about how to process certain things is huge, just because a lot of the time something's like really big in your head. Then you talk to someone about it, you realize like it really isn't a big deal. So it's like just a test. You don't need to like freak out too much about it. So like, yeah, that's what I do usually. Another thing I do is I draw. I used to draw a lot. I don't really draw much anymore. I should probably pick it up again. And yeah. I also really like reading. Reading's fun.
Definitely, definitely. Wow, these are all really good practices, and there's a lot of overlap too. Okay, great. That was fun. So now I think we'll transition to our first point, and I'll let Serby take it over from here.
So yeah, thank you all so much for your wonderful wonderful discussion. I feel like there's like a common thread with like everyone's discussion with like wanting to take a break from like whatever is bothering you and then coming back to it later, like with yoga or like with walking and music. So I feel like there was like a common thread with that. Nick, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about your part with
Yeah, so the talk today is on focus and how that can lead to peace. And what I wanted to talk about is how we can really only do one thing at a time. So it's important to make that one thing worth it. I'll open up a bit just to get a little vulnerable here. So I hit a really low stage in my life about 2-3 years ago where I had just gotten a degree. I didn't know what to do next with my life. I felt lost. It was actually so bad that I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I just didn't feel like I was making any progress, completely stuck. And I spent this whole summer after school just doing nothing at all because I felt so stuck. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to act. I don't know if that's familiar to anyone. I'm sure we've all dealt with anxiety to some degree, but I just really wanted to know what I could do to move forward. And I was suffering. I was experiencing this existential problem. I was thinking, I only have so much time, and I felt like I was wasting my time. And that anxiety was so strong, it was making me feel depressed as well. And when I look back on that time, I think about how important our attention is, because it's so important. That's why it feels so awful to waste it. It's like deep down we know that we're not going to get that time back. You know, like no matter how rich you are, you can't buy time. If you have $1 million or even 1 billion Bitcoin, you can't buy 1 second. And something I've learned since then from my teachers is that we need to have a goal in our life, something we can focus on. When we have long-term thinking, it helps facilitate our short-term decisions so that we can work towards that goal. And it might be difficult to think like, oh, well, what is that goal? What am I supposed to do? And that's something you can think about. One thing that might help is there's the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. He's pretty famous. But one of his lesser known thought experiments that I think is really powerful to this effect is called the eternal return. It's a thought experiment where you suppose, what if what the afterlife is that you relive your exact same life that you're living right now over and over and over again forever, the exact same life, but you have free will. So right now, what would you do in order to make your life worth reliving? And that's definitely something to reflect on. And when I think of my life within that context, like I know I definitely wouldn't feel good reliving mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or TikTok over and over again. I'd feel awful if that I had to do that a billion times in a row. Yet for some reason I do it. And I know that these apps cost my attention. They're costing me my most valuable resource. And I know that the developers and the business people behind these apps are using attention as a metric to measure their success. Yet it's really hard to get out of that habit cold turkey. So instead of just quitting, what I've learned from my teachers is that instead of just quitting, what's better is upgrading or evolving the habit. Like for instance, for Instagram, I use it more mindfully now. Instead of just scrolling, I think like, oh, Instagram's like this promotional platform. That's the best way to use that app. As like almost like an advertisement. Yeah, scroll with purpose. Exactly. So I have a question for y'all. What is a habit that you want to evolve?
Like this Pokemon over here.
Yeah, what can take you from Charmander to Charizard? What's a habit you can evolve? Or if you can't exactly think of that, perhaps maybe a reflection on that eternal return concept. That's pretty heady as well.
I was actually hearing from a mentor recently that the only thing we really have to give is our attention, and how our attention is really our most valuable asset. And I was thinking about that, and something I'd really like to change is how I allocate my attention. Just because sometimes like you put your attention so much over a great period of time into something that ultimately bears no fruition, or if any fruition, it bears something negative because you're so attached to it. So it's like, it's very interesting just because like I think, like as you mentioned, like putting your energy into something that's like a valuable practice is so important.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, Especially when you put it in the context of just like long-term thinking, right? Like you're talking about like having a long-term goal. So that's like super important, because if we think super short-term, then we'll just do stuff that doesn't lead anywhere. So yeah.
Anyone else would like to share? What's a habit that you would like to upgrade?
Yeah, I was just thinking how you mentioned if you were to just completely stop and go cold turkey, it might be very difficult to actually stop. Maybe you might for the first couple of days, but then the habit might just come back. And I heard a phrase called if it was habits cannot be just eliminated, they can only be replaced. And so if you want to get rid of something, you need to actually replace it with something else, because then instead of doing nothing, it's really hard to just do nothing. Instead, you have to actually do something instead. And so for me, I found that sometimes if I'm just wasting time watching like videos, I might as well just watch videos that are helpful, and then do that for some time and get back to work. Because if I just tell myself don't watch videos, eventually I might start watching again. So.
That's a great point. I'd like to hop in here too. I think one thing that I thought of when Nick brought up that point was that I think a lot of times me, and I'm sure a lot of other of us too, live our lives kind of for other people in at times. Like we do stuff to fit in, or we do stuff to please other people, or just like to get approval. I think if I were to continue living my life, I would really want to make sure that I'm choosing what I do and I'm not settling for it or doing it for other people. Like the reason I'm doing things, I want to do it because I want to, because it fits my goals, because it fits who I am. And I would never want to keep living the same life again and again when I'm living for other people and I'm not living for myself, because that would just be awful and demeaning, and not something I want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what everyone said. I saw Yash. You can actually go ahead of me, Yash. Please go. Please go ahead.
No, I can go after. No worries.
Yes, thank you. I was just thinking. I was reading from one of our ancient texts of wisdom, and it was saying that habits really does develop our behavior and also our character. So it's actually extremely important of what type of habits we want to actually incorporate in our life. And I think if you actually have superior goals, right, or goals that drives your purpose and your passion, uh, then you kind of, I want to say, neglect these negative habits or these habits that really don't enrich you, to actually propel you forward. So you really have to, it's almost like a big balancing act, but definitely always thinking about ways to improve yourself. Um, Yash, please take it away.
Yeah, thanks. So I really resonated with what Anshu said. So two things there. One, he mentioned that habits can't really be, you can't really just kind of kill them cold turkey. They have to be like replaced. There's actually a really cool book called The Power of Habit. I don't know if anyone here has like actually read it before, but they actually like a scientific study on this, and like that literally like that's literally the case. Like that's so true. Like it's way easier to like replace a habit and like gradually like kind of mask it as opposed to just kind of like cutting it out. And then as a habit, that like one thing I think I would like to at least kill out of my life would be like again kind of related to what Andrew said. He talked about like YouTube videos, stuff like that. One thing I tend to do is that like if I want to, sometimes I'll spend a lot of time just like finding something to watch as opposed to like actually like getting there like and watching it. And so like that's something I'd want to like kill. Like instead of spending like so much time like just trying to find something to watch, where it's like, dude, just like it's fine, like go do something else instead. Like actually that can be more productive for me. That's something I definitely want to like kill.
I'm seeing in the chat, everyone is like talking about redirecting attention rather than stop paying attention. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, so I think people were talking in the chat a little bit, but yeah, it was really nice hearing from everyone about what they're hearing. Where attention goes, energy flows. Suika, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Shivatsa. I think that's like one of my absolute favorite quotes from my spiritual teacher. He always says that, where attention goes, energy flows. And as human beings, we have so much free will. We can choose what we want to do with our time, where we want to place our attention, how we want our lives to proceed. And it's something that really no other kind of species has. Like humans have so much ability to do whatever the heck they want to do. And so because of that, attention is kind of like the pinnacle of all of that free will we have. in order to do what we want to do, all we have to do is place our attention on it. And like my teacher says, where we place our attention, energy flows. So I want to be a doctor, just place my attention on school, med school, all of that stuff. And then energy will flow that way and it'll happen. And so attention is like our most powerful asset in that way. And it's kind of like the most powerful tool we have as human beings. And so with that, I just want to pass it on to Survi to bring us up with our next point about attention and focus and peace.
Right, yeah, thank you so much for telling that. Also, yeah, Anjika, that does sound really cool. So yeah, my name is Surbi. I'm a sophomore in college right now. And because of quarantine, I've been spending a lot of time at home, in my room, studying, and alone. And is everyone else also doing that too? Yeah, some thumbs up. Yes, snaps. It's been like a kind of an ordeal because I'm alone in my room studying. But you know, these months of quarantine have taught me that I'm actually really not alone. Yeah, I'm actually really not alone. There's always this thing up here, this voice in my head, this narrator, or in general terms, my mind is with me. And it's always there with me by my side. So I'm not really alone. And I'm not sure if you guys have this experience, but my mind has this thing where it will remind me about the most embarrassing or weird or awkward things in my past that I have never ever like thought about before. Yes, thank you, Nick, for the it just out of nowhere. Like I'll just be like studying, okay, like doing my discrete math homework, and then just suddenly, do you remember that time when you like got up on stage in high school and performed this dramatic teenage angst poem about all the trials and tribulations of youth and no one understood it? Oh my God, it's just out of nowhere that comes. Or like, do you remember that time when you accidentally winked at someone and then they thought that you liked them for like 3 months? Oh my God. Oh my God. What a loser. Like, what are you gonna do with your life? You're so weird, Serbi. Like out of nowhere, this stuff happens to me. It's just like in the blink of an eye. And I'm like sitting there paralyzed, like, oh my God, yeah, I am such a loser. And so I realized that my mind throws so many things at me, yeah. So I'm also, okay, I feel like this is really nice that everyone's like bringing up embarrassing stories. It's making me feel a lot better. So thank you so much for that. And I realized that my mind throws so many things at me. And I know Shrivats is going to bring this up a little bit later, but our mind can be such a bully, kind of like a frenemy. Like you think like, why would my mind be against me? It's my friend. But actually it's kind of like a frenemy. You think it's your friend, but it's actually really your enemy because it brings up all of these like, oh my God, awkward, weird things. And I'm sure you guys have this experience too. So I've realized that I can either listen to what my mind says, or I can shift my attention, just like Swika said, shift my attention to something else, and I'll be able to thrive in whatever I'm doing. So, so we can choose to listen to our mind, or we can choose to listen to something else. And this is also talked a little bit about in the ancient wisdom texts. And Manya brought it up a little bit last time. Swika, could you maybe share the slide right after? Thank you so much. So actually, I'll first talk about the ancient Chinese tradition. There is this philosopher named Lao Tzu. And one of his biggest contributions to the literature is, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. And so I'm sure maybe you guys have heard of this quote before too. It's a very popular quote and it resonates with me so much because often when I find that I'm stuck in my head and I'm thinking about something weird or like mean I've done in the past to my friends or something, I'm usually depressed. And when I'm thinking always about my future and internships and if I'll get a job and maybe I won't, or like maybe I'll be homeless in like 3 years, then I'm anxious and I'm just full of anxiety. And so I've learned that if I am fully present in this moment, I love this, gratitude looks to the present, then I am filled with gratitude, I'm at peace. And I want to connect this also. This isn't only said in the Chinese tradition. It's also reiterated in the Indian tradition, where they talk about the three modalities. And I remember Manya brought this up last time we were there. It talks about when we are in our head, thinking about the past, we're depressed. We're in, yeah, Manya. No, thank you, Manya. And I did some research, and when you're in this mode of constant thinking about the past, you're depressed and you're kind of ignorant to reality. So you're in the mode of tamas. Then there is rajas, when you're constantly thinking towards the future, and like, this is the future for me, the future, this corner of the wall. And you're always anxious and thinking, oh man, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? So you're always in the mode of rajas. And then the third mode is sattva. And it's the mode where you are at peace, you are present, you are here for life in this moment. Just like I'm seeing all of you here, I'm here with you, I'm talking to you. So we're in the mode of sattva. I will say, I'm spotting myself right now. I am a little bit in the mode of rajas right now because I am anxious to see how you guys will like my next activity. So it's all good in practice to talk about these modalities. And one thing that I find really interesting is that when we spot what modality we are operating on, we can immediately make that switch. Okay, I'm a little bit in the rajasic kind of mood. Maybe I should move a little bit to sattva. A little bit of goodness, a little bit of presence is needed in my life. So this is all good to say in practice, but what does it really look like? So one thing that really helps me to stay peaceful and grounded. I loved everything that you guys said. I remember Sweka, you talked about the sun, Bharat, you talked about yoga, and Jeremiah, you talk about nature. I want to tell you guys a little bit about the practice that's really helped me. It's deep breathing, and it comes down from another Indian tradition called Ayurveda, which basically means the science of life. Isn't that so cool? It's like Ayurveda, it's so beautiful. And it talks of, and this type of breathing is called Ujjayi breathing. Ujjayi means victorious in Sanskrit. So this is a victorious kind of breathing that I want to do with all of you. Hopefully it will make you feel a little more at peace right now. So I'm gonna ask you all to take a seat comfortably wherever you are, even if you are behind your cameras and hiding from us. I'll ask you guys to just take a seat, relax, and just check in with yourself. And maybe you can put it in the chat. How are you guys feeling right now? How are you feeling? Srivatsa says, eh. Sveka says, calm. Nice. All right. Everyone feeling good? Jessica says, hopeful. Nick says, kind of anxious too. All right. So it's good that we're checking in with each other. I'm also feeling a little nervous too. So how Ujjayi breathing goes is that you're going to take in a deep breath through your nose. You're going to hold, and then you're going to exhale. But it's not going to be just like a normal exhale, like when we do inaudibly. It's Anshika's saying rather hungry. Well, I don't know if this can like fill your stomach, but it can definitely maybe like ease like your nervous system for a little bit. You're just going to make an audible breath, like you're blowing into sleepy. You're going to blow into your hand like it's like a window, and you're going to fog it up. So it's like, so you can feel the heat on your hand. Kind of like when it's like rainy outside and there's a window and you want to like write like a little heart or like whatever you want to draw with your finger. You want to make that audible breath. It should sound kind of like the ocean, but I will say this breathing audibly also sounds a little bit like Darth Vader. And so this Ujjayi breathing is also in popular culture called Darth Vader breathing, because the sound when you inhale and when you exhale sounds like Darth Vader. So I'll get started with the breathing. So you're going to breathe through your nose, hold, Srivatsa says, starts breathing 5 minutes later. Luke, I am your father. Well, hopefully this breathing won't turn you guys into Darth Vader, but hopefully will make you guys feel a little more peaceful. If it does make you Darth Vader, like, I guess that's okay also. So we're gonna do this maybe 2 or 3 times, and then we'll check in with how you feel right now. Okay. Hi, Geeta Priya. It's nice to see you. Okay.
Hi, Will.
Hello. So we're gonna breathe in through your nose. Hold. And exhale through your mouth. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. All right. How are you guys feeling now? I'm definitely feeling a little less anxious, a little more peaceful. Suika gives a thumbs up. Like I want to take over the galaxy. Okay, well, Nick, you probably could. So, okay, great to hear that. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that you guys are feeling a little more peaceful after doing this breathing exercise. Anushri says, relax. I'm glad. Hopefully, Anjika, you are not as hungry, maybe a little less hungry. I'm not sure. Breath can't really fulfill your stomach's needs, but maybe get something to eat later. Somewhat, yes, nice. So I wanted to talk to you all about like, what about when deep breathing doesn't help? Like, what do we do when we want to feel peaceful and grounded, but like our situation in life doesn't allow that? I'll give you guys an example. There was one day, see, actually, I'm not saying why this is like there was one day. This happens like regularly, on the regular. I was so tired. It was such a long day. Like the day was too bright, the sun was too bright, the day was too long. My parents weren't well, I wasn't well. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Yeah. I'll get through it. And Anjika, it gets much worse. And that fateful day where this decides to happen, where I'm just feeling like the worst ever, the landscaper, okay, and the landscaper comes over. I'm not sure if you guys know where the story is going, and they decide to mow the lawn. Okay, they decide to mow the lawn, and I'm not sure if all of you guys live near landscapers, but when the lawnmower comes to town, it is just, the lawnmower is the most mind-numbing noise that humans have created on this planet. It is just so loud and obnoxious. I'm telling you, it's 90% noise and 10% cutting grass. Like that is what a lawnmower was made for. That's all it does. 90% making loud noise to bother everyone and 10% cutting grass. And so I'm sitting here and I'm feeling so tired, and I'm like studying for this test that I don't really want to study for, and I'm tired and I am sleepy and I'm sick and I don't want to study. And this lawnmower is just going for it outside. And at this point, I'm really at my wit's end. I'm really at my wit's end, and I just want to be like, oh man, like what is going on? What am I gonna do right now? Like I would try deep breathing. I try like stopping and taking a few breaths. I try to sleep, and I'm like, I can't do anything with this sound. And I realized at that moment how powerful sound is in creating an atmosphere and a mood for us to live in, to interact with. And so I was just so angry, and I was getting so angry, and I was like, what am I going to do? So I decided to just grab my headphones and go for a walk. I grabbed my headphones and I put on some music, some nice peaceful music, and I went on a walk. So 10 minutes later, I go 10 minutes, for 10 minutes, I go on this walk. And with each step, I feel a little more peaceful. The music that I'm listening to creates a different kind of atmosphere than the lawnmower. And I'm just absolutely filled with a lot more peace than I was before. And the great thing was that once I came back, not only was the lawnmower done with his work, but also I felt so much more refreshed and rejuvenated just from that small walk and listening to that music. And so I realized that day how powerful sound is in creating an atmosphere that we want to live in. And that's something I want to reflect on with all of you. What kind of sounds do you surround yourself with? And how do they affect the way you feel? Does anyone have any reflections on that?
I have one. So one thing I think about is like with studying, right? Like some people like to listen to music while they study.
Yeah, me, I don't.
But I can't. Like if I background noise also bothers me, but music bothers me too because I get too into it. Like I start to enjoy the music and then I'm not studying anymore. So what I have to do is listen to like sine waves or like those like tones where it's just like yeah, or it's just like at a certain frequency or it's just like a constant note.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to that. That way I can just like tune everything out.
That is cool. It is really cool. Can I say something? I'm not sure if you guys have heard of something like this. There's this thing, I don't think it's real, but it's something called subliminals. So like when you listen to it, it changes something in your brain or like your waves. And you can see like different changes in your physical appearance simply by listening to those waves. I doubt it's true, but it's just like how powerful sound is to carry all of that noise with it. Yeah, I also love classical music too. Yeah, definitely.
See, for me with classical music, even that I get into it. It's like, yes, this goes so hard, or it's like it's so beautiful, or something. Like I get too into it.
Yeah, I agree. I can't listen to music while I study. Anyone else have any reflections?
Yeah, I'm the exact same. I have a playlist of literally just ocean waves and like a fireplace, like the crackling of a fireplace. I just play that, or I play like completely white noise because like that prevents me from hearing other like external noise as well. But what happens, like I play an Indian drum called the mridanga, and a lot of the time if I start hearing like any sort of music, I just start like playing beats just on my legs or something, and then I just forget to like study, I guess, or like do whatever I'm supposed to be doing at the time. I just get completely distracted. So yeah, I think yeah, and also like I had a small reflection about how like sound, like putting yourself in front of the right sound.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like especially like I think like with COVID and everything, there was so much like I feel like taking a break from the news was such a huge deal for me, just because the news had a way of like I'd step out of the house just to go on a run, and then I'd come back home and think I had COVID or something. And just because like the severity of certain situations is obviously exaggerated for like a money making purpose or something, but I think like taking a break from that was pretty like effective for me.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, taking a break from the news, like every day, it's just a new thing happening, and it's just so tiring. So definitely like watching the sounds that you're consuming, not just through your like we eat food, but it's like what are you taking in through your ears? Jeremiah, I saw that you unmuted. Would you like to share?
Oh yeah, everybody was like kind of talking about like music that they kind of listen to, and I relate a lot with like when that like I just really get into like the music, and so it doesn't really work. But lately, actually, I kind of figured out that how like programmers probably have their like like they write code a lot. I don't write code or like programming, but yeah, I kind of found out about programming music, and so music like designed for like focusing, and so programmers like I guess programmers like listen to like
That's so
programming
cool.
music while coding, but I kind of do that while doing homework, and so it's like a nice change of music for me.
That's really cool. Programming music. I have to check that out. I'm a programmer. Are you a programmer, Jeremiah? No, CS. Are you CS music? No. Well, we have to get to know you better then. Yeah. Does anyone else have any reflections? Well, I just have one thing to say. You know the programming music? I've known there's something called like arrays in programming, and when arrays are sorted, you can make like different sounds out of each sorted array. Anyway, I'm just getting a little geeky right now. You guys won't understand. Anyone else have any reflections?
I think you all had such amazing points. I definitely want to hear from everybody because, we all have different natures. And I think it comes back to Nick's first point about habits, right? So since I started listening to classical music and I heard it was actually very good and beneficial when you're studying, that's what now is such a habit that I actually enjoy classical music. And I just see from Jeremiah's background, right? I always see your background picture that it's not just what you hear, what you eat, but it's also the sanctuary that you actually place yourself as well. So when I study, when I actually do anything that I really have to focus, um, so I can actually gain peace, my desk has to be very organized and neat. My room has to be very clean. I'll spend 5 minutes to make sure it's fully clean. So think of all these different factors uh, that you know that will help you actually focus. And when you are actually focusing, you actually become very peaceful because you are actually being very productive. But we can actually take maybe another reflection. Gita Freya, I see you smiling. I think you agree. Do you have any comments?
Oh no, I just really agree with the point that your surrounding needs to be very, for me as well, I think I usually try to keep myself really organized especially when I have to like grind and work. So yeah.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. Whatever sounds you listen to, they really do affect your way of thinking. I would like to share with you, so some kind of music, so we all agree that a different kind of music will make us feel a different kind of way. Maybe like listening to like upbeat hip hop will make you feel like energetic and wanting to like take over the world, like we talked about before. Or like maybe classical music could maybe calm you down and help you study or things like that. And yeah, Spanish music. Suika is a big Spanish music girl. The different types of music we listen to, they really do affect the way we feel. So I wanted to share a little bit of a small snippet of peaceful music. So we understand that music can also be a kind of form of meditation in that way, to kind of feel a little more peaceful. So I would like to share with you just a 1 minute version of a small section of music that's really helped me feel at peace. So Sweka, can I ask you to share your screen? Is it that picture of the beautiful field right after? Do you see that? Thank you. So this isn't where I walked when I went on that walk after being annoyed by the lawnmower, but oh wow, that's cool. I've never heard organ music. Definitely have to try it out. So I have a small little bit piece of music I'd like to share with you. But just imagine you're in this beautiful field. So you have a little bit of visual touch right now. And I'll just play a little bit of meditation music and just check in again with how you feel right now. Are you feeling nervous, anxious, angry, upset? I don't know why I'm saying so many negative emotions. Happy, joyful. How are you feeling right now? Put in the chat, say it out loud. All right, so I'll go ahead. Is everyone able to hear? One last time. I'm hearing that it's inaudible right now, the music. Yeah, it's a little shaky. Okay, so I don't know. I'm playing it from my computer, so maybe that's the reason why it's a little shaky. You can share computer sound. Okay, let me see what I can do. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to figure it out. So, yeah, Swika, do you have any ideas?
Is it Kairava? Is that what you're sharing?
Yeah, we can share that.
Okay, let me I'll just play it on my phone up to my mic, and I think that would be good. All right.
Thank you so much, Vic. My apologies for the technical difficulties. Got it, I agree.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
All right. That was just a little glimpse.
Thank you so much for playing that, Swika, and my apologies for the technical difficulties. So basically, the music we listen to carries a different level of vibration. So if we're listening to, say, something with maybe like a lot, yeah, so exactly what I said before. So if we're listening to kind of hip hop or something like that, it creates a different kind of mood for us to listen to. And so the music, death metal, things like that, it carries a different kind of consciousness with it. And yeah, Nick is like a really amazing and very cool musician. So really props to him. He really knows his stuff with music. So I'm sure like he also has some ideas and thoughts about music as well. So music really carries a lot of potency, a lot of energy with it. So if we're listening to something with a different vibration, then we'll feel the effects of that music. So the music that you just listened to has some Sanskrit words that carry a different kind of vibration to them, and it's been passed down from generations and generations of listeners. So they carry a lot of potency with them. So music as meditation is a very powerful tool. And so I'll hand it over to Srivatsa to tell us a little bit about the power and potency of meditation. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, hi everybody. I don't think I introduced myself yet. I'm Srivatsa. I'm currently a freshman in college, and yeah, this is actually a topic that's very close to my heart, especially because of things that happened to me in the last year. College, especially with quarantine, was something I don't think I was very mentally prepared for, because a lot of the time, like when you're studying with a lot of people, you know you're suffering with a lot of people too. So it's like a good feeling. But I was the type of guy who'd like now, since everything, like I started feeling really lonely, and like I was the type of guy who'd like stay up till like 12 because I was like super anxious for the final, and take the 3 hour final till 3 in the morning and then go to sleep, because like I couldn't sleep otherwise. So and also because I put a lot of pressure on myself, because I was super like focused on the future, as like I think this is a topic we just recently talked about, but I was super focused on like, okay, I got to get really good grades if I want to get into a good med school. And med schools are getting harder and harder to get into every single year. And if I want to get into a good med school, especially one that's close by to my home, that'll be like very hard. And I started putting a lot of pressure on myself. And something that I noticed is that it's really important to find a way to like not like be ignorant of the future or ignorant of the past, but stay in the present. And it's a lot easier said than done. And doing that requires one to have control over their mind. And controlling your mind isn't that itself is like it's its own like huge battle, because it's something I read a while back in the Bhagavad Gita, which for those of you that don't know, it's this ancient literature from India. It in the book, Krishna is talking to this person named Arjuna. Krishna is a charioteer, and he's talking to a warrior whose chariot he's driving, named Arjuna, who just had the like the horrible reality of knowing that he has to kill his family, or like his family's on the other side of the battlefield is what he finds out. And in their discussion, it's mentioned that the uncontrolled mind is one's worst enemy, while the controlled mind is one's best friend. And something that I started taking to more seriously after hearing that is that I need to start controlling my mind, because my mind is something that takes like something as simple as like a midterm or like a quiz and like magnifies it to the extent of thinking that if I don't get like 100% on this, I'll like not get like I won't earn money, I won't be able to like have a family, like anything like that. I was thinking like way too far into the future. I was the type of like I got a 96 on one midterm and I got super depressed about it. And then I thought about it later. I was like it's okay, it's a 96. Like I should be like happy with that. So yeah, so I started taking to meditation, specifically mantra meditation. And the reason I took to that like very seriously is because what it did for me was the moment I started taking to it very seriously, it changes your entire perspective on things somehow. I don't know, like I'm not like an expert on the details of how, but it changes your perspective on everything. And the biggest thing it gave me was that I was able to look at my mind as a separate entity. A lot of the time, like we look at our mind as like as the same thing as us, like we are our minds. But a lot of the time we have to realize that our mind is not like our mind feeds us so much nonsense on such a regular basis that if we like buy into all of that nonsense, like we're gonna hurt ourselves. So I ended up like that's something that really helped me. And then like luckily like this quarter I'm like chilling. Like I mean it's like it's a good feeling to know that you could get like good grades without like freaking out. And yeah, and that's something I started to do. And I can't remember if there was anything else I wanted to say. There was there was there's other practices that I got into, such as like writing a gratitude journal, like journaling, like in general, like just to make sure like to know like the quality of my days. And that helped a lot because I was more aware of what was going on. But at the same time, I don't think it did as much as mantra meditation did for me personally, um, just because it didn't ever completely change my mindset throughout the entire day, and it didn't keep me absorbed. And absorption is so important, just because a lot of the time, like keeping our mind distracted from something and making sure that we're like sane it's all about staying absorbed in a practice. And obviously we could stay absorbed in any practice, but it's also important to stay absorbed in a practice that we know will benefit us. And it's actually like interesting because I heard recently that mantra quite literally means that which relieves the mind. So like it quite literally did that for me. Yeah. and it helped me like beyond words can say. But I something I wanted to open up for discussion was that like what everyone's impressions on mantra or meditation in general was, just because meditation is like it's a growing practice in the world today. Everyone's a lot of people are meditating now. And I was just wondering what you guys found appealing / unappealing about meditation. Specifically, also just to clarify, mantra meditation is the repetition of a certain mantra. That's usually in Sanskrit. Yeah.
And so if you guys haven't had experience with meditation, maybe I just to remind you, the two meditations we did with like breathing and with hearing sounds, they're really helpful types of meditation. So we'd like to hear your reflections on those. What was difficult and what was challenging? What was nice? What was relaxing about it?
It was definitely like hard to focus my mind on one thing and like sit there, but it was relaxing in the end because I knew I did like something good.
Yeah.
If I may, can I speak to that? Like, I just had this realization right now from what you said, Manya, about how even though the goal of meditation is to focus your mind, like it's so okay not to achieve that goal, like this time or right now. Like you said, you felt better, even though you didn't like fully achieve that goal of like single pointed attention. But that's like so relieving. That's so freeing. Like kind of like what Srivatsa was saying about school, like knowing that he can, if he does like what he needs to do, he'll be fine in school. Like if you can take that same approach to meditation where like you just kind of do whatever's necessary to meditate, but not get so hung up about like how it's supposed to be, you'll still feel good and you'll still make progress. And that's something I need to take to heart myself, because I definitely get hung up on the end game, the result. So thanks for that, Manya. That's really inspiring.
I love that. Yeah, just the fact that you like attempted it and you tried it has value and it means something and it's something you should be proud of. Yeah, it's a really great point.
We can still continue to, hear other reflections. We definitely want to hear from everybody, even if they were a little bit more quiet on the call. Remember, this is a space for all of us to actually dive deeper into our understanding. Collectively together, we always grow by giving and together. So it's very important. Again, this is a very safe space, and we definitely want to hear from everybody because we definitely learn from everyone.
Yeah, so just in general, any thoughts about anything? Anything you want to share to some degree about this?
I can chime in real quick. So yeah, I try to like meditate every day. I think similar to what Srivatsa was saying, mantra meditation. And I think like Manya was saying earlier, like the goal is try to focus on something, the mantra or maybe something else, whatever it may be for you. But even on the days where I'd say my focus is like pretty bad, like I'm not focused at all, I'd still find like even those days are like beneficial in some way. Cause like maybe I'm not focusing on like the mantra or whatever it may be, but like I might just be going through my day, but I still end up like having a clarity about my day. Like even though I wasn't focused on like what I was supposed to be doing, like I still spend that time, like going through my day and like my day is better because of it. So I think even when like meditation doesn't go, at least for me, when it hasn't gone like well, it isn't like meet like the goal that it doesn't meet like my expected goal. It still ends up like helping me in a different way that I don't expect.
Anyone else have any reflections on this?
Does anyone have anything negative to say about meditation? We left the door open for that. Does anyone have any like doubts or like misgivings?
Yeah, Angelica mentioned this thing about how your like your mind just all of a sudden starts thinking about all these negative things, and I definitely have that. Or like just like I should be doing something else in the middle of the practice. But yeah, I find that as it kind of like pushed through that, I'm just like kind of just notice the thought and like here my mind goes again. Like just look at it and like eventually it kind of does kind of just wither away, and it's really nice when you can get over that, because at some point, like certain points, like it does kind of stop you in the middle of practice. Oh no, to be honest. But yeah, that's definitely one thing with anxieties. But yeah, I feel like as you get more into it and yeah, cultivate the habit, it definitely does ground you more and more, and it just keeps you going.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so I think we've reached the end of our program. And so before we wrap up, before we wrap up, I just wanted to say a couple things. First is that if you like our programs and you want to join our team, you can totally sign up to be a volunteer. Please reach out to any of us and we'll let you know how to do that. You can also nominate a music clip of the week for the intro music. If you'd like to do that, that would be cool. And next week, we'll be having another program, May 16th, and it is the Superpower on how it's Superpower number 3, and it's on how to attain purity. So be sure to tune in next week, next Sunday. And that's kind of all I had. So thank you guys so much for coming. I always think that the most precious sort of gift or thing to share with anyone is time, because you can literally never get your time back. And so I'm really grateful that we all got to share our time together today. It's really great. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Perfect. Great seeing you guys.
Team, stay back, please.